Good morning. Welcome to this Board of Commissioner meeting on July 1st. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move into our presenters, and we have Renee Crick with the EMA BRIC 23 grant. Good morning, Renee.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nothing like jumping right in here. So last week, I had received notification from the state that we had until July 4th to agree to participate in the BRIC 23 grant. So the BRIC stands for Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant. So I'm already learning a lot in these last couple weeks. But we needed to have that completed by July 4th, and it's a form. And I had also learned that back in '23, Director Sanders had sent an intent to the state that the county would participate in that, and apparently, from my understanding, it had kind of been on hold, and then FEMA had reopened that. So what this grant does, it is the multi-hazard mitigation plans that are updated approximately every 5 years, and the last one was completed in 2019. So I did complete the form with the state that had the deadline of July 4th, and now we are waiting on the state legal department to complete the document that will be signed for the grant to move forward. But Clinton County was awarded $24,304 for this grant to do the mitigation plan. We did have a 25% local match, which was $8,128 and some change, but I did find out today that instead of us having to pay that portion, there is what is called in-kind, and it is where we track all of our time, so that we end up not really having to pay our match, because it's done by tracking our meetings and the hours and everybody that attends those meetings. I will say that when he submitted the intent to apply, the departments that were included in that were EMA, Commissioners Council, Health Department, Highway, EMS, and then the Clinton County School Safety Committee, as well as the City of Frankfort. So my understanding before, there was a representative from everybody. The last one that I took a look at was members from each town in the county in different departments. So there's typically like 4 to 5 meetings that have to attend. Through this grant, the last one, they had hired through IUPUI, the Polis Center. So it's college students that are really like tracking all of, like, we have certain requirements with things that we have to answer, questions we have to answer. But this, looking at the last plan, it was interesting to me. It goes through risk assessment, vulnerability, hazard profiles, mitigation strategy, and plan maintenance. So it went back like 50 years of tornadoes and severe weather and different things and dates. And so it was just an interesting plan to me. So like I said, I'm learning a lot, but I just wanted to let you know now that I was kind of in a panic last week when I first got notice that we had this July 4th deadline, but I completed the form, and we are good to go with that. And we do have money in our budget if we would have to pay something, but I don't anticipate now with what I got, the document that I just got this morning, we won't have to pay anything. It will be based off of like our hours worked per se for this meeting and tracking those things.
Okay.
So I think the last thing I just wanted to tell you, the plan is a requirement of the Federal Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. So I think if we don't have this plan in place, it can cause us to not receive FEMA money for mitigation.
Okay.
So I just think it's important that we obviously get this done. So it'll be a work in progress, and I don't want anybody to panic, any departments panic. Like, once I get all of the information and we figure out what we're going to do moving forward, and that's going to be a little bit until we get the legal documents back, then I will contact each of the departments to get a representative and let them know exactly like what to anticipate. So.
Okay. When was that last plan?
Pardon?
The one you were looking over that you said was interesting. When
The
was it
last
done?
one, I was not looking at the 2019 because it was at Document Mountain.
Oh.
So, but Terry still had the one prior to that, and so I was looking over it, and I've got it sitting on my desk there in EMA, but it was really interesting. So I know she was trying to get a hold of Document Mountain so we could get that back, because I would like to see the most recent one, even though it's not real recent, but the last one.
Yeah.
But the one I looked at was really interesting information,
Okay.
so.
So do you need anything from us today?
I don't think so. Originally, I thought like I might need approval, but I don't think I do.
Okay.
No, so,
Any questions for Renee?
No, just
Thanks, Renee, very much.
thanks for your hard work on it.
Yeah. Well,
jumping right in, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
That's okay. I've already learned a lot, and I know I will continue to learn. I have a lot to learn, but that's okay. So,
welcome to the fishbowl.
Great, thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Skip around a little bit as we need to wait till 9:15 to open the fuel bids. We have Liz Stitzel with area plan update. Good morning, Liz.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay, I just have one thing, I think. We had cited the house up on 26 as an unsafe structure. Do you remember that one, 750 East, Route 26? And Mr. Wilhelm, which is the owner, Kevin Wilhelm, he had contacted Kat on June 26th and noted that he said he recently had an accident that had him laid up, so that's why he didn't have the house down and cleaned up. He's recovering and getting back around. He would like to ask for an extension, and he says he can have the property cleaned up and the house down by August 1st. He's also asking if the fine can be waived, though Kat indicated to him that that's probably not something that anyone would consider unless the property was compliant, at which point it might be a point of conversation. You find this, this was in response to the invoice we sent for the $150 fine that you voted on the 3rd of June. So anyway, I'm coming on his behalf, or at least I guess to relay his request and to have an extension with no more fines until August 1st to try to get the house down and to ask if there's any chance that his $150 fine can be waived.
Did he put that in writing?
He did not. Kat made notes from their phone conversation.
I would suggest if, one, we ought to get it in writing from him rather than just verbal, I'm gonna tear it down by this number of dates. So my first thoughts would be we need it in writing first that he's going to do that. And my opinion is, I don't think we want to waive it until it's down and we've, I don't want to waive the fees until we see some action. I'm not opposed to the extension, but
Yeah,
it's up to me.
So our first meeting in August is the 5th. So that's, gives him a couple extra days. I would say allow him the extension, have him send it in writing, and then if it is completed by our meeting on the 5th, then we would
Yeah,
be
they
willing
consider
to
it.
waive the fine at that
Yeah.
point.
That'd be my thoughts too.
That way we're working with him, but at the same time, there still has to be a deadline.
Can we presume then that if he does not have it down by that point, there will be another fine levied?
You can
Yeah.
presume
Yep.
that.
I think that sounds
More
reasonable.
than the first one.
Yeah, it'll be a second.
Yeah.
I'm good
Good,
with that.
good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That was what, as the liaison, can communicate to him.
Yeah, that's,
What
is
we
good.
All right.
will do.
Perfect. That's me.
Any other items?
I'm so sorry, I should not have walked away from that. And, no, that's all that I have, unless you have anything for me.
Just for your information, I got a hold of the Solar Energy Group, and I'm meeting with Garrett and another individual on the 7th. He's on vacation in another country, but either the 7th or the 8th, we're having a meeting. He's coming here along with another individual, and I briefly discussed my dissatisfaction and the fact that I'm tired getting phone calls from my neighbors because of the unattractive condition that it's being left in. I've got neighbors that have trash that's blowing from their dumpster, that's blowing over into their yard and so forth, which is not necessarily a good thing. And if you look at the site, no matter where it's at, it's just in disarray and just looks like a pile of unkept stuff.
I agree.
So-
I've got a call as well from Mr. Vostri,
Oh,
who.
did you? Okay. Well,
Yep,
he's
who-
one of my many.
Yeah, who stated that he hasn't had contact or a solution, like we met there on the property, so I sent an email. I guess that would be why I got an out of office, reply, so I guess that
Yeah,
explains
he's out
why
of
that's what I
county Or
got.
out of country.
Would you like me to be at that meeting?
Probably, let me think about it. 'Cause
Okay.
it's gonna be ugly, and I don't know that in your particular case, you wanna necessarily be part of it or not. I don't know. Let me think about it.
Well, I guess it's
because,
about how I can best serve,
There's
not
just so
about
much,
what's most convenient for me.
You know, the sound barrier bales that they've had,
Mm-hmm.
the bales have not been used. They're all collapsing, they're all over, and they've not hauled them away. Weeds are taller than the trees that they planted.
Have they completed the
over.
repairs on the sound barriers? Because that wasn't done when we were
It
out there
doesn't look
last
like
time.
it. I did get an email from Garrett, who said that, from our last meeting, his recommendation was that Todd, and I've not mentioned this to Todd, nor do I want to, but he suggests that Todd plant some bigger trees back there and simply barricade it himself. So.
Because his last email to me, which I forwarded to you, is that that AES was going to look at bringing in some mature trees to
Yeah,
put
but
additional.
they want him to do it.
Interesting.
And they will remove the trees that they planted if that's the case.
But those trees can't be removed without coming back through
right. That's
a
what's
zoning
telling you what,
process that I don't think, as
So
staff,
anyway,
I'm not going to support removing anything.
It is work in
so-
progress.
Yeah,
So.
for sure, it sounds like it.
But I wanted to let you know that I reached out to him, he confirmed, and so I believe it's the 7th, but I'll get back with you for sure.
Okay, and I guess I would note, you and I discussed this the other day, and I think it would take a little planning and figuring out who we'd have on contract, but we would always have the option under the mowing ordinance
Yeah, well,
to
it's-
site
I
it
was-
and mow the whole thing, but
I-
that's not something that our current mower would be able to do in a
Yeah.
quick way.
I was gonna talk to Mr. Little and make sure what our legal options would be with that, because I don't know that we wanna do that, but I would not be opposed to fining him on a daily basis or something, if we need to adopt something. that-
Modify the ordinance a little to give a finding
That's exactly.
option versus
So-
mowing. That's a fair idea that would be manageable,
Yeah.
so.
So do we have any similar option available for the continued debris and trash and just issues that are going on there?
So we can cite it, but we have to cite the landowner that the debris and trash is on. So if it's blowing onto other people's property, the person who got it blown onto is gonna end up being the one cited, which isn't usually a super helpful.
No, that's.
Thing,
That
like
doesn't,
that's-
that doesn't accomplish it.
No, that's kind of that's kind of how we would look at it too. If it's a active construction site, then, we can cite them and hold up inspections, but this sounds like it's their just normal maintenance stuff.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's not the project is done as far as the installation of the panels and the fences and.
However, all of the trash that's blowing over in the neighbor's yard is also going along the ditch and on the county property and the county right of way, and I think that we can look at some
Let me
other
look at your
avenues.
unsafe, your property maintenance ordinance to see if there's something more general that would let us use your fine structure that goes as a tax lien. So the nice thing about the tax liens is they're relatively quick and they're gonna hit the landowner that's leasing as well as the entity that's the leaseor. And so hopefully that would put additional pressure on getting it solved.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that the other gentleman that's coming with Garrett is one of the new owners or one of the new supposedly managers of the operation itself. And so I'm willing to let him know, but at the same time, I'm tired of talking about grass and trash,
You and me both.
Right.
And,
know,
yep, absolutely.
If they can't, then we'll take care of it, and, if we have to mend something to even pay $1,000 a day for them. not
Well, I
to do it,
agree. If
so,
it's something we're gonna manage it, then it should be at a profit.
Yeah.
Not,
it's-
not as a cheap option to
Well-
not maintain
an industrial
I was fortunate enough
site.
to go to some of those meetings at the beginning, and they were gonna maintain it, and they were gonna keep it
Mm-hmm.
nice, and they planted all those trees so that it would be, nice and decorated.
And
so
if it
forth.
was maintained,
But
it
when
would
the
be.
weeds are taller than the trees they planted, we might as well told them, forget the trees, we'll just let the weeds grow,
Yep,
I mean,
that's how it feels like they're looking at it
and
right
so
now.
they've got it set up, and what they've done, it's out of sight, out of mind now. And Mr. Little can attest to it. It looks terrible no matter which direction you go out there.
I think your idea of fines might be a decent one. I just think they need to be big enough to make
yeah,
an
that's
impact.
exactly-
100 a day is probably not going to catch the
Like I
attention
said,
of
I'm
a,
tired talking about grass
you
and
know.
stuff, so either they get on with it or we'll start taking care of it ourselves.
Yep. And then I agree, we probably need to restructure to make sure that we're, because I was thinking about that the other day. We typically, for administrative costs, we have a set amount we typically add to a bill, but it's not, it wouldn't be enough if we did that with that to cover, we would need to relook at that schedule as well and how
Very
we do
much so.
that. Because the goal, I think, always when we're having to take care of something, is that we are the most expensive option, because what we want to do is motivate them to, to leave us out of it.
They wanted to be part of the neighborhood, so they need.
Yeah,
to
that's
be-
exactly.
Yep.
They need,
yeah.
they
Wake
need to
up.
take care of their,
I agree.
yeah.
I think regardless of this situation, we need to amend the ordinance to allow that flexibility, because if we're always going to try and do it retroactively, right, and not have that option until something comes up, it'd be better just to put it in place so it's
Be done.
available at the time of when.
Do you want me to go ahead and draft something and get it over to you?
Sure, that's fine, yeah.
Okay,
Just
just-
amend the general property maintenance ordinance and add,
Actually, I think if you're gonna add a fining option for tall grass, wouldn't we need to add that in the tall grass one rather than the property maintenance?
you can do that, you could do it in both, because they could have multiple different types of, it might not just be tall grass, it could
It's
be
exactly-
trash too.
You already have it in the property maintenance one for everything that's there.
Okay.
We typically talk about it with the unsafe structures, but you can do it for anything that's in the property maintenance already.
Yeah. And
So-
it's not just tall grass. That's-
The only thing we would need to amend there, and you might need to look at the statute, because I don't know if it's different. Like, I know in zoning, we can do a daily fee, but then we have to go to court to get it. I think the way the fee, the fine schedule is laid out in the ordinance is based off of statute. So to see whether or not we can, because right now there's not a clause for daily, there has to be a first, second, third, and ongoing occurrence. And of course, only meeting every 2 weeks, you can only have that conversation. So maybe if you can check the statute to see if the statute says with each day constituting a separate occurrence, or if it talks about an occurrence having to be a vote. So we see if we can add in language that talks about an accrual daily that's automatic after a vote.
Well, one of the bigger problems we have in going for the future is that all of these corporations change management. And so last month, this manager was in charge of doing things and they were going to do it. And then the next time comes around 2 months later, now it's a new person and they've not known about it, so they don't do it. And it just continues to get kicked down the road. The
Yep.
solar people are a prime examples. They've transferred 3 different times now management.
Yep.
And I'm tired of talking
We-
to 3 different managements. Either we get to the top and somebody says, yeah, we do it, or we really go for their throat.
We deal with this for the landfill too, but I think,
That's exactly right.
I think if
Everybody.
your fine
Yeah,
is
that's
big enough.
exactly right,
It's
Jordan.
it's their blueprint. It really is.
If their fine is big enough, then perhaps it will be more important to them to train their new managers to maintain that and avoid that financial
Yeah.
repercussion.
Yeah, so it is amazing how they, like Jordan says, it's their blueprint. They've got it figured out. So,
The other thing we can look at least in terms of, it won't help on the landfill side, but in terms of the solar, is, the fine structure that we have per occurrence, that can be done per parcel. There's probably, I don't know how many parcels there, but there's a lot of parcels. So if you levied it on every single parcel that doesn't have,
yeah.
maintenance, that fine could accrue rather quickly and result in a lot of leasees that are seeing something on a bill they don't expect and contacting
That may get
the
there.
solar people.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Just let me know on that meeting what
Will
your
do.
pleasure is.
All right, past 9:15, so I'll pass it to Attorney Little, and he will open the fuel bid for 2026.
All right, first one from Newton Fuel. Looks like they just gave rack price, freight margin price, total price. Did you want to know any of these numbers, Jordan?
Yeah.
Premium on off-road, priced at $2.5239 per gallon.
So 253 roughly.
Yes, premium, and then off-road diesel, 2.5289. And then 87 unleaded gasoline, 2.1493, so 2.15, $2.15. Premium diesel, 12-month fixed price. Those are the floating prices.
Those are the floating?
Yeah, the
Okay.
top two are just floating.
Okay.
This one's fixed, $2.56 a gallon for premium diesel, and then unleaded, $2.30 a gallon.
Okay. So two.
All right. This one. Okay, this one looks like it's from, is it Heritage Legacy, Heritage Petroleum bid proposal.
Yep.
This one is, there they are, okay. Floating price for your product NO2ULS. I don't know what that means. $2 and, basically $2.50 a gallon. And then NO2ULR. So I imagine those are
That's I think that's unleaded gas.
unleaded gas,
Yeah.
okay. $2.50 a gallon.
Okay. So both of them are 250.
Both of them are $2.50 for floating, yeah.
Okay.
And then fixed price for calendar year 2026. For the first one, $2.59 a gallon, and the same thing with gas, $2.59 a gallon.
Okay.
And then the next one looks like it's the E87, which would be the gasoline. The floating price, $2.11 a gallon. Fixed price, $2.35 a gallon.
Okay.
So one's the diesel, the first one I think
Yeah,
is the diesel,
yeah.
second one's the gas.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
They were just stated completely different.
Yeah. Okay. So let's we'll take those under advisement, and then we will make our selection at the next meeting. Have a motion for that?
Motion made.
All right.
Second.
All right. Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have Rick Campbell with a highway update. Morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Morning.
We start with the community crossings agreement with Railways. We want to start August 1st and they'll be done September 1st.
August to September.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? I think Rick had sent this over.
Yeah, right.
I have no questions on it.
No, me
Okay.
neither.
Motion to move forward with this.
So move.
Second.
All right. Motion carries 3-0 to proceed with Reeve Riley on the community crossings.
I also have the notice to proceed for them. I need Jordan to sign.
Yeah, we'll put it, we'll get it here after the meeting. It's the same paperwork.
Central Paving has a paver we'd like to buy. It's $200,000. I put $180,000 in my budget. So, and we've got the other $20,000. And we wanted the commissioners would let us buy that paver, All Central Paving. It's the same one they used to pave Michigan Town Blacktop with last year.
I think it's a great piece of equipment to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Much needed. I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Approve that.
Good. I'll second that purchase.
3-0.
And you've got the other 20 to,
Yes, we've got it.
That's not coming from the coffee fund, is it?
Also had a
You worked out.
new pickup in the budget for one of my road foremans, and it came in. So I took the old 25 truck over there to see what they'd give me for it yesterday, and I got their offer back. They'll give us 10,000 for the old pickup, which would make our cost of our new pickup 52,692.60. I had 80,000 appropriated, and I was wondering if the commissioners would sign this.
I'm okay with that. Are you
Yeah,
guys, or
I'm-
would you
I'm good
rather
with that.
send it to auction?
Yeah,
I mean, those
exactly.
are your two options.
Knowing that truck, better just trade it in.
Okay.
I'll second Kevin's.
Yep. 3-0.
I also have the list of roads that we're chip sealing right now for the commissioners.
Thanks, sir.
Chip sealing has been going real good. It's nice to have some extra trucks. All of our trucks are in good shape now. We don't have trucks we're not afraid to use, so we've had like 14 trucks out there chip sealing and not waiting on any trucks. Everything went real good until yesterday when we finished a couple mile of road and then we got a sudden downpour and those roads bled. So they're back out there this morning fixing those roads. It's
I know those roads. I said, I know those roads.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, that's all I got.
Okay,
Good.
great. Thanks, Rick.
Sounds good.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you for this list. These are,
Yeah, that helps.
yeah. Okay, move on to old business. We have one item under old business, and that is the appraisal engagement letter. Copy of that, Jerry?
Sure. It may be in your office.
Okay. See if I can pull it up here.
Sorry about that. I think I printed it out this morning. Okay.
So this was the, for the two properties that we had told Tom to engage with Roger Miller for to try and get those back on the tax roll. So we just need a motion to approve the engagement letter with him so that he can get those appraisals done, and then we can work towards not just sitting on those, but like I said, getting them back on the tax roll.
Yeah. I'll make the motion that we move forward with the appraisal engagement letters so that Mr. Little can provide those and get those to Mr. Miller then. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion carries 3-0. The next item wasn't on the agenda, but I'll bring it up. We can either move forward with it or table, depending how much time last evening. We got an email in regards from the Board of Health about going a contractual employee for their food inspector. They're having some transition with a couple different positions and the changing with Health First funding, as well as county budget going into next year. And there was some hesitancy to hire someone full-time, but obviously we're in kind of the summer season and need to be able to have someone doing these inspections. So they've asked us to consider hiring Rodney Wan, who has worked at the health department, has the experience to handle these food inspections for a 12-week period. So I had a chance to review that this morning. I didn't have any issue, but if you gentlemen did not, then we can push this off to our next meeting. So
I was able to read it late
Yeah.
last night also, and I didn't see anything wrong with it, other than, I just question if 12 weeks gets us far enough down, but I'm assuming in that contract, we could continue to extend that contract.
It goes week by week after that. Yeah,
Okay.
so
That
it's
was
12
right.
weeks, and then at that point, it's a
Just
week.
continued
Yeah,
on.
it's continued for as
Yeah,
long
that's why
as
I
we
thought I
decide
said-
we want to continue it, or they advise us to continue.
Stop it,
Yeah, yeah. But at that point, I think they'll have some more certainty on their budget constraints,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to decide how they're going to organize some of their personnel positions going forward. There's looking at combining a couple positions into one to be a little more efficient. So they're just needing some guidance from council as well as the state, and that's not going to come until middle of August, most likely. So,
Did you have a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I looked at that. I had no issues at all, but I agree that I didn't know if that was gonna be enough time to get us through the season, but
Yeah.
if we can extend it.
Yeah, yeah, it extends weekly. It gets us to October 1st, so
Okay.
at least I think gets us through festival season, we'll call it, and then at that point, it'll be more refined to regular duties.
I'll make the motion that we step forward with the contract with Rodney Wan.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion carries 3-0 for that. All right, department heads. How many department heads? Sean, I have one for you, real quick. And I can just share it. We received, someone had sent in a picture to us of a Facebook complaint out there at the jail about parking in the handicap spots. Okay, I don't know who it is, but just wanted to let you guys know that we got this, so I'm hoping the sheriff will take care of that for us. Okay,
Took care of it. When we heard that, we took care of it.
gotcha, thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, commissioner reports?
A couple things to bring you up to date on. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I think, we met with pretty much the entire staff of Valley Oaks, which is the health organization that the state has now approved for us to use in Clinton County. As everybody knows, we have had Howard Community for multiple years under contract by the state. There were deficiencies for the last 4 or 5 years that we had. The state has agreed to remove Howard Community from that position, and we have negotiated with Valley Oaks to come forward into our community. The state's approved it. We're really ready to go. Carol and I met with their management team to include the doctors, a couple psychiatrists, and several of their staff, and they're excited about moving in. They've already been here. I think they said they already have 300 clients that they service now anyway in our community, but at this point in time now, it's official that the state money and so forth would be provided to them for the continued services here. I thought that I was aware of a contract that we had years ago with Howard Community, and I don't know, I don't have a copy of the contract, but I don't know if that exists or if we even need to have a contract with them since it's state-driven. But I thought we did, so that's one thing we need to kind of look at.
I think we need one.
Yeah.
To outline the expectations
That's-
that we have
Yeah.
from our position. Now, you know, how much weight will that carry in the end when financially we are told what we have to pay and who we have to pay? But I think it's still good practice to have one in place. So
Yeah.
whether we can find the previous one and amend it or
Cannot.
find the previous one
Yeah.
currently. So
Yeah,
sounds
it
like
has
we'll-
been mentioned, but I don't think it's ever been
I
found.
don't think, yeah, I don't
Then
think we ever have.
we'll probably need one from scratch.
But I'm very excited. They seem very good. The president of the organization, they're looking for temporary space, looking for 2,000 square feet of space temporarily here in Frankfurt. Whether they go and build or move to purchase another location or whatever, but at this point, they'll go with temporary space, and they have the ability now to either come to the locations and, you know, run with our Howard, or with the community corrections, or run with some other organizations that we have in place, but they're ready to serve us now and so forth. Just so that everybody knows, Howard Community has not been paid the previous year. They've never invoiced us, but at the same time, not only have they not invoiced us, they really didn't provide us with services either. So there's a little bit of discussion and thoughts as to, my opinion is, if they haven't billed us, we're not paying it, you know?
Well, I would say if they haven't provided the service, we're
And that's
not
exactly
paying,
right. So, you
regardless
know,
if
they haven't
bill
been
us.
here. The service that they were supposed to give us has moved and gone to Tipton. So, you know, even at the least, it ought to be cut in half or so. I mean, you know, so the previous bill is still up in the air, and that's a couple $100,000. So, still yet to be proven as what's going on. But I'm excited with Valley Oaks. I hope that things go well, and I'd like to ask Tommy to maybe get with their president, and I can get you the information, to come up with a contract that we have expectations ourselves on. I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Sounds great.
So thank you for taking the lead on that, Bert.
Yeah, it's almost done, so. And at the same time, Jordan, like I said, I have received a tremendous amount of calls earlier about the solar farm and also the landfill. So both of those places are beating me up, neighbors complaining about the location of trash and the lack of maintenance, et cetera. So, like I said, I'm tired talking about it. Those guys need to step to the fence. So hopefully we can resolve some of those issues too as we go forward. So those are the only two things that I really have.
Commissioner Myers?
Only thing I had was, I did attend the ribbon cutting of the St. Matthews West. I think that's definitely a great thing for our community, and so that went really well, and that's really nice. If you get a chance to go out there, maybe you've already been out there, but if
I
you get a
haven't.
chance to, you should see that. That's really nice.
Okay. Great. I only have one quick thing. Yesterday, Indiana House Representative Mark Ginda and I toured the Covestro facility out here. It used to be
Oh, yeah.
former DSM. Was, have roughly 35 employees out there, but the work they do, and just sometimes, I've said this in previous meetings at times or engagements, that we're always focused on landing the next opportunity, the next manufacturer, business, something here, because that's what drives us, right? We need more assessed value, but we take for granted the ones that are here. And so we got to think about that balance of, regardless, anytime we talk to the businesses in our community, the number one thing I always hear about, I say, what's your biggest challenge? And it comes down to employees. We have a very low unemployment in Clinton County. I think it's less than 4%. It might even be less than 3%. So there's just not a lot of available workers. And as we think about the future and we're bringing new business here, what does that do? That takes workers that are currently here and gives competition. And so, we just got to continue to have that balance of growing responsibly, but at the same time, understanding that we have partners here currently that are really good and do a good job. And so it was interesting to go through it and see their business and how they do things. And for me personally, just the similarities in my business in ag, like it's always driven by efficiency. We can fix this problem, but then what's the next bottleneck? And so different products, but the same problems. So that was interesting, and I wish you guys the opportunity, if it comes up again, to make that tour, because it was very eye-opening. So
Good, thank you.
next, I'm going to have a little late addition. I think Councilor Price has a council report for us.
I wanted to add a little bit to Bert, talking about Valley Oaks. Bert, remember they said that there is a position on their advisory board that we need to fill, so the commissioners can decide about that. Then I wanted to just share that President Dunn and I went to the AIC, the State Board of Accounts, called meeting a couple weeks ago. Days keep going by, I don't know how many days ago it was, but we're trying to learn more about the money that's coming this year.
Or not coming?
Or not coming, yeah, more importantly, not coming. And so this is just my opinion, this is not the council as a whole's opinion, this is just my Carol Price opinion as a council member, that I would ask department heads to really think about their departments and where they might find places to cut costs. And we all know that employees are the highest piece of our expenses. And when you think about, some positions could be, maybe it's a $40,000 position. By the time you get benefits, it can be an $80,000 position. So, and we're looking at insurance costs are probably going to be going up. Insurance is not going to be easy. Insurance committee met, and we don't know how that's going to cost. So I would personally just ask department heads to really look at is there an open, we don't want to let people go, but if there is an opening, does it need to be filled? Can work be moved around? We all know that there's been more efficiency come across in the last 5-10 years. Is there enough efficiency that a position could be eliminated? Could it be a part-time position? We want to maintain all the employees that we need and pay their insurance as we have been able to do that. But I think we could use department heads' assistance in making good decisions about that and see opportunities. And some of these cuts that we're getting from the state are going to happen over the next couple of years. So this is not just something that has to be done this year. I'm just saying, over the next few years, when there's an opportunity to save the county money, it would behoove our department heads to do that. I would really appreciate that.
Well, I think, as you said, it's kind of going to roll in and phase in over 26, 27,
Yes.
and 28.
Yes.
So rather than waiting until 28 and having these large
Yes.
gaps that somehow have to be filled, be thinking through that as you go forward.
Yes.
And as you mentioned the insurance, I'm on the committee. I mean, we've basically been told to put a number that's 40% higher than
Yeah.
what our insurance was for 25
Right.
in there. And that's for a couple reasons. One, we've been with IU Health for 8 or 10 years probably. I don't know, I'm gonna say, maybe not that long, 2019 or so, roughly. And they no longer are offering health insurance. They've left. So we're starting over. And then it is all driven, to let people have a little insight, it's all driven off of our loss ratio. And if it's above 100, then you're going to have higher premiums, and ours is above 100. So ideally, we'll get it lower than 40%, but it's going to be a substantial increase regardless of what that number is. If it's 20% or 40%, that's a large
is.
amount
It is.
for that line item. So
And if we can save $40,000 or $80,000 on a half-time position or a full-time position, that money then can be used to cover those insurance costs that we know are going to be higher.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and you're exactly right. We take for granted the benefits. Someone's making a salary of 40, but depending if it's a single plan or a family plan or whatever, you're somewhere between 25 and 45,000 in benefits per employee
Yeah.
in Clinton County.
So it's-
that's the additional cost that they necessarily
it can make a big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a big difference in the budget.
Exactly.
So, thank you for letting me
Yeah.
speak.
Anytime. Okay, we'll move on to our board business. First item is our claims, June 20th, in the amount of $76,330.34. A claim dated June 27th, in the amount of $23,169. Biweekly from July 1st, in the amount of $468,978.50. And lastly, a court claim from July 1st in the amount of $14,465.43.
Motion to approve claims.
Second.
Motion carries 3-0 on the claims. Next, we have a payroll from June 13th in the amount of $580,263.11, and a election board payroll from June 13th in the amount of $17,400.
Move to approve payroll.
Second.
Motion carries 3-0 on payroll. And lastly, we have our minutes from our previous meeting on the 17th of June.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 for that. Our next meeting will be on July 15th. And any other business that you guys have? Any
None.
business?
I have none.
Okay. Hope everyone has a safe and happy 4th of July weekend. And just remember to fly that flag proudly. We live in the greatest country in the world for a reason. So
Remember that.
with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you.
Another one bites the dust.